everyone. We'll let you know we do have an active tornado warning that was just issued for Buncombe County, North Carolina. It includes McDowell and Rutherford counties in North Carolina as well. We are watching live Super Doppler 4 closely as this line is now moving through the area. We've got severe weather up and down it, but the more primary concern about rotation is right here sitting in eastern Buncombe County, pushing off toward the east at about 40 miles per hour. The storm has a lot of heavy rain with it. You're likely not going to, likely to hear lots of thunder along with this as well. This warning goes until 1 a.m. here, so it's pushing off toward the east-southeast. A fresh storm track here out of this activity in eastern Buncombe County would push into southern McDowell County shortly thereafter, and then parts of Rutherford County shortly thereafter that. So Lake Lure, Chimney Rock, areas in between of this activity as it rolls on through these areas, pushing into areas along I-40, basically right along I-40 in the mountains, pushing into these areas of Rutherford County right outside the foothills. As we turn on our velocity, basically taking a three-dimensional, or an X-ray rather, look at this. You've got the strong green right here going toward the radar, and then the red going away. So watching this area closely near Montreat, this is right on the Buncombe-McDowell County line near I-40. You got a big reflectivity right there, likely some strong winds. Near Highway 9, Old Fort, there's a Home Depot right here at the Highway 9 area. So this area of I-40 in eastern Buncombe County, the concern that we're watching right here, where we could get some rotation and the possibility that a tornado could be touching down in the mountains in eastern Buncombe County, heading toward McDowell County in these areas. Those of you that are watching us in the upstate right now saying, okay, I hear some thunder off in the distance. What are you saying for my town? Well, right now we've got heavy rain and lightning, but no active severe warnings across the upstate. A different story, though, in western North Carolina. There's a severe thunderstorm warning embedded in this as well. Any bit of this rain and wind across the mountains has the potential to give us that severe weather. In fact, Griffin and I have been watching that sky cam over Asheville, and it's been producing some strong winds and some sideways rain in these areas. So we're watching that closely as well. But if you're just now tuning in, anywhere in the upstate watching us right now in the mountains in northeast Georgia, there is an active tornado warning right here for eastern Buncombe County, near Old Fort, near McDowell County's line, pushing toward the south and east right along I-40. So a fresh storm track here would get this into Buncombe County and moving it into southern McDowell County. There's Rutherfordton right there. So in an area like this, pushing off toward the east-southeast at about 40 miles per hour, moving right along I-40 basically. So if you have anybody that could be heading in these directions, you kind of want to told them to kind of hold tight. If you're watching right now in these areas of Buncombe or McDowell County, you want to get to your safe spot. That means the interior part of your home. Hey, you're in the mountains. You're not used to seeing these type of warnings as often. I want to let you know that you need to get away from windows, okay? It'll be in Coleman at 12:23, Old Fort at 12:29, at about Faro at 12:47, then to Sartsville at about 12:55. So just before 1 o'clock here. Live Super Doppler 4 giving us that instant look at where these storms could be located, and looking at it closely right there along the McDowell-Buncombe County line is the suspect area, so to speak, here near Black Mountain, Old Fort. And again, Highway 9 going up toward I-40. There's a Home Depot right in here, big shopping center right in here. So this is kind of the area that we're concerned about as this pushes into these areas. Old Fort, you're right on the next town over basically for this. There is an active tornado warning here for this Buncombe County area, McDowell County, and Rutherford County area until 1 a.m. So those of you watching us right now in the upstate, you're watching us saying, okay, what about us? This is for the mountains right now, but this same storm system is trying to make its way down the mountain into the upstate, and that's what we have to watch out for here is Black Mountain, Ridgecrest, Montreat, Coleman, all in the path of this. You see that brighter green right there, just really strong winds. In fact, Griffin and I are watching that through the Asheville area as it was producing sideways rain, and this has tightened up enough to give the National Weather Service the evidence, so to speak, to issue this severe thunderstorm warning and upgrade it to a tornado warning. So that's what we have right now in this area of I-40. You're watching it right now. Griffin's drawing on the wind streams right here. It's this area as we're kind of rolling into some higher elevations in this area. You got Bearwell Mountain just to the south of here, but lots of different terrains here, and that can sometimes cause these winds to act a little bit differently in this area. So we're going to have to watch this closely. Simply put, this cell that's over eastern Buncombe County as it rolls on through right on the county line could wrap up into a tornado and give us some damaging winds. We've had numerous tree down reports today, large hail reports, and that's been the concern here is this cell that's right over Black Mountain right now moving into McDowell County toward Old Fort right along I-40 could be producing a tornado. So need to watch that closely. Swannanoa, you're right on the edge of it. It's more for Black Mountain eastbound through Old Fort. And a heads up for you folks, not necessarily Lake Lure, but more east of there through Bostic, northeastern Rutherford County. You would be in the path of this as it kind of continues on down in this south to southeast trek. That's the way these storms are rolling, and they're booking it, folks. This is a loud, fast-moving system as it's rolling through the mountains right now. And looking at that evidence right there, there's a little bit of rotation here in that Montreat Black Mountain area on I-40 where High-40 and Highway 9 meet. This is one of a couple of different storms that we're watching across western North Carolina that are producing damaging winds. And as we like to remind you folks, with these other warnings here, you've got 60+ mile-per-hour winds. So yeah, the tornado warning certainly gets our attention and grabs you know, the headline, so to speak. But wind damage is wind damage, whether it's coming at you in a straight line or in a rotating fashion. Watching some of these cells here across Franklin County, Stevens County, certainly having the potential to be a little bit more feisty. Griffin and I were talking about this a little bit, the untouched areas, so to speak, areas that didn't see as much in the way of storms earlier today, while areas got worked over and over again in the northern parts of the upstate. Southern part of the upstate, you just didn't have as many today. So it's possible that you're a little more vulnerable to some of this activity that rolls on through. You should also know, watching in the upstate right now, that no matter what you can expect tonight, one thing we can almost guarantee is heavy rain, some strong winds, and a lot of thunder. There's a very electrical storms out of this activity. So watching in Travelers Rest right now, heavy rain, some lightning, about the extent of that. But then watching this activity in Carnesville right along 85, booking it toward the north and east. Nothing severe out of that right now, but we're watching it closely. This line moving through at about 40 miles per hour. In a line like that, it's going to continue to scoot on down into the upstate over the next hour or so. And we've been watching all this activity back through Alabama, and unfortunately, we were just looking at this. There are confirmed tornadoes on the ground. This one right here is a tornado emergency, or has been, and it's about to cross over the Georgia state line just north of Rome right there and head toward the I-75 corridor. But closer to home, our immediate concerns, our immediate threats are located right here across western North Carolina in the Buncombe-McDowell County area, and that's what we're watching right here along that I-40 corridor from northern Rutherford County, McDowell County, Marion, into Buncombe County. Many of you are watching right now saying, okay, what about the upstate? What about Spartanburg, Greenville, or Anderson? You know, of course, tornado anxiety at night is a very real thing. We've been there, done that. We're watching it closely, folks. I can tell you our eyes are peeled on this. We've got you covered. Right now, there is nothing rotating in the upstate. That's the good news I can tell you. Is it possible? Yes. It's not our highest threat. Strong winds would be our highest threat back toward western North Carolina. And that's what we've been watching here as we look at live Super Doppler 4 in Greenville and Travelers Rest, Spartanburg on the way to seeing some heavier rain. So just because you hear thunder and lightning doesn't mean you're going to get able to tap into that tornado activity that's up toward North Carolina. It's certainly a possibility that we get some of these to rotate in other areas, but it's really western North Carolina for Buncombe County that we see this. Now, in particular with new radar scans, Buncombe County, you're almost out of this. It's actually more McDowell, Rutherford County at this point. Getting a new scan in here, there's a lightning strike right there. It's this bright red area just east of Black Mountain, which sits very close to the McDowell and Buncombe County line. As you get into some higher terrain up in here, but this is going to be moving into areas that are lower elevation. Griffin, we've been watching this here, and as we look at the velocity returns here, trying to designate where this rotation could be, but somewhere right there along I-40 where it meets Highway 9, has been the target area as it moves quickly toward the south and east.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. So yes, this tornado warning continues until 1 a.m. This is going to be for McDowell County, Rutherford County, and the eastern part of Buncombe County. For everybody watching up in Asheville, the storm is just to the east of Asheville now. Again, it's Black Mountain and Swannanoa where we're seeing kind of the worst of the action right now. We had a couple of scans of the radar where we had some more well-defined rotation. I will say right now, it does look more like straight line winds, but that's not to say that the threat is going away. I mean, it doesn't matter, like Chris talked about, whether it's in a straight line or whether it's rotating. It's still a lot of wind, and it's easily up to 60 miles per hour right now with the storm that's coming over Black Mountain at this point. Let's pause the radar here and kind of get a more detailed look at exactly where this is. So it's mostly over I-40. If you're near Catawba River Road, if you're near Stillhouse Drive, Old Fort, Lackeytown, any of these places I'm mentioning, anybody who lives along U.S. Highway 70 there, you want to take shelter. You want to get to an interior room, whether that be a hallway or a closet or a bathroom. Anytime you have a tornado warning, it's not a time to take any chances. You want to get inside an interior room away from doors and windows because, again, it doesn't matter if it's straight line winds or a tornado. Any of these storms that are coming through here are really packing a punch. So, again, this is mostly going to be impacting the western part of McDowell County and the northern part of Rutherford County. Looks like Buncombe County was actually just taken out of the tornado warning there. That was just trimmed to take Buncombe County out. So all clear for folks in Asheville and everybody else who's watching in eastern Buncombe County. But the threat continues as this storm moves into parts of central McDowell County. So again, this tornado warning continues until 1 a.m. for McDowell County and northern Rutherford counties, and a lot of really strong straight line winds that could definitely produce a tornado. So we're going to have to watch this storm, Chris, really closely as it continues to move east at 45 miles per hour.
Good information there, Griffin. Yeah, and those of you watching in the upstate right now, it's this storm cell, this line moving your way. Primary concern right now over Old Fort, McDowell County, as you're getting out of the higher terrain in the mountains and going into more of the foothills into Rutherford County. But we're watching it. Our eyes are peeled. Severe thunderstorm warnings continue for Asheville, Hendersonville, back through Brevard, Transylvania, Jackson, parts of Haywood County. This area under the gun for strong winds at the moment as this continues to push off toward the east. The tornado side of this kind of on the outskirts, and that's what you'd expect, sort of the leading edge, the most vulnerable to some of this rotation. We have a tremendous amount of wind energy in the atmosphere. Got a severe thunderstorm warning right here. Again, 60-mile-per-hour winds the concern in these areas of Transylvania, parts of Jackson, Haywood counties, and then for you folks in Brevard. So this is kind of moving in like this, but you got the storms riding along that line, kind of in a southeast but also a northeast fashion. So it's kind of a weird environment that we're in right now, and merging. Yeah, I like that analogy there, Griffin. Yeah. And watching it from Marion, yes, central McDowell County, I-40, basically splitting the county in half right there at the edge of the higher elevations. Southbound would be where this is heading. It looks like it's going to kind of edge right on the southern edge of McDowell County and then get into Rutherford County right there. A lot of lightning. That's the big concern right here, too. Those of you that are waking up right now, you maybe saw the alert, the push alert just go on your phone. You turn on the TV to say what's going on. All right, you're watching in the upstate, you're watching in the mountains. We're on the air right now because of a tornado warning in our viewing area. It's in the mountains right now. Buncombe County was under it. You've been trimmed off. You're still having some rocking and rolling weather, but this is McDowell and Rutherford counties in our viewing area where we serve right now. The folks in North Carolina, Rutherford County, you're under that warning right now. You need to get to an interior part of your home. Those of you watching in Greenville, Spartanburg, wondering what time it'll be there for you. We're talking anytime now through about 2, 3, 4 a.m. The bulk of this, the most feisty part of this, is really probably between now and 2 o'clock as this line's pushing out of the mountains and soon to move into the upstate. And Griffin, we're watching kind of this forward motion of it back through Alabama and Georgia. It's picking up some speed right here, and these areas that have been so to speak untapped for at least a couple of hours here, especially on this southern end, we'll need to watch. There's a feisty storm right here in parts of Franklin County, Georgia, right there along the I-85 corridor. Those are areas that are kind of vulnerable to some of our rotation.
Yeah, that is where we saw less of the way of activity this afternoon. Now, keep in mind, this is the first of, the third really batch of storms that we've seen in Greenville so far today. But some of the places farther south, like that storm that's right there in Stevens and Franklin County, northeast Georgia, we haven't seen as much activity today, so it's still got a chance of possibly strengthening more. Again, like Chris said, we're on the air because we've got a tornado warning in effect for McDowell County and Rutherford counties. Let's pull up the velocity data just one more time to see if anything jumps out at us. You do have somewhat of an area broad rotation there. That's right on top of Old Fort. It's crossing over I-40 right now, kind of moving east-southeast at 40 miles per hour. So let's put a storm track on this. That would put that, if we take the cone out a little bit more, that would put it into Lackeytown pretty much right now. So seek shelter if you're in Lackeytown. If you're familiar with Sunnyview Church, if you're in that area, seek shelter, get indoors. Still a possibility we could see some embedded rotation there. Glenwood Elementary School and Faro, it'll be on top of you within the next 10 to 15 minutes. 12:47 is your estimated arrival time there. So again, tornado warning continues until 1 a.m. for these for McDowell County and northern Rutherford County. If you're watching us in Rutherfordton, you're not included in the tornado warning just yet, but it's possible that you could be included in a downstream warning. Logan, again, same thing. You're not in the warning just yet, but if this storm holds together, it's possible you could be included in that in a warning further downstream as well. For the most part, it's just been straight line winds. It's just a situation where the storms that are coming up and over the mountains, they have a history of producing tornadoes back in Tennessee and have some embedded rotation within them, but still the main concern is going to be straight line winds. I mean, that's been clear to us since for really the past 12 hours. You've had plenty of data to suggest that straight line winds are going to be the main problem. So if we pull up just the watches and warnings here, you see we've got a tornado watch in effect for all of the western half of the area. Obviously, the warning that's in effect right now is just outside of that. But regardless, the best area or the most likely region where we have support for tornadoes is going to be in the western half of the upstate and the western half of western North Carolina, where the tornado watch is in effect until 4 a.m. But all these yellow boxes you see here, these are still storms you want to take seriously. I mean, they're still, just really packing a punch. Tons of lightning strikes, tons of straight line winds. It's probably safe that to say that any storm that you're under a warning for, you may want to take action for, because again, straight line winds are still something to take seriously. It doesn't matter if the wind's spinning or if this wind's coming in a straight line. We could easily have 60 mile per hour gusts as well. So the one storm that's at the top of our list right now is the one that's over there in McDowell and Rutherford counties. But we also have to watch these that are over in northern Georgia. These storms are also kind of in an untapped environment. That's why that little purple polygon you see there, that is a confirmed tornado that prompted a tornado emergency over towards Fort Payne, Alabama. They haven't seen, again, the dew points are still in the low 70s in this part of the area. So as these storms track to the east, we'll have to keep our eyes on this very closely for sure. Northern Georgia still got a lot of storms as well, and we'll keep our eyes on this, Chris, for sure. Yeah. McDowell County and Rutherford County definitely at the top of our list for the moment.
And this one's showing some higher reflectivity here across the I-85 corridor. Each scan that comes in on Live Super Doppler 4, you see more pink and reds right here. Thank you, Griffin, so much. Franklin County moving into Lake Hartwell. Let's put a track on this activity right here as it moves along the I-85 corridor here. Clemson through Lake Hartwell, pushing it into this area. We'll have to watch this. It's not severe, but it's got some heavy rain with it. We'll be watching this. It's probably the most feisty storm we have across the upstate. Clemson through about 1 o'clock, Pendleton 1:06. So just keeping you apprised of what's happening across the upstate here. And again, this is one of those cells that's not with the main line. It's what we call discrete. It's separated from the main line. This would be a cell I'd be concerned could be vulnerable to some rotation. Not seeing anything stand out. Nothing really strong right now, but it's certainly got some heavy rain. It's got some lightning with it. But like Griffin mentioned, our primary concern, our primary storm is up in North Carolina. McDowell County, Rutherford Rutherford County. You've got a watch in place for these areas, and that means the conditions are favorable. The ingredients are there. But just because you have ingredients sitting on a table for a cake doesn't mean there's a cake there, right? It's got to all come together. Well, that's the case right now, as we have the ingredients there for a tornado across the area or straight line winds. But as this rolls through, one thing I can tell you is it's going to be loud. We got heavy rain, we've got lightning, and a couple of hundred lightning strikes across the area. This is down from a couple of thousand over Tennessee. But look at this cluster back through North Georgia. And again, it's this southern side that's more vulnerable to rotation in this. And again, you got to remember, there's a lot of wind energy just above our heads. So any of these storms that climb up or get strong, and again, like this growing storm here across parts of Franklin County, if it gets to a certain height, it could certainly tap into some of that wind energy there. But right now, we're on the air. We're what you call continuous coverage here because of the tornado concerns over parts of western North Carolina. Severe thunderstorm warnings, 60+ mile-per-hour winds right here, and this is forming into more stout lines. So let's put a couple of storm tracks on this activity for you, Griffin. We'll start with this one right here. It's over Transylvania County. Kind of map out this strong wind heading into Brevard and then eventually into northern Pickens, northern Greenville County here. It's to the point now where it's about to cross into South Carolina. I bet our next warning, severe thunderstorm, would be for Pickens and Greenville County as this line is pushing in. It'll be in Brevard at 12:45, Canebrake at about 12:49, Caesars Head just after 1 a.m., and then Slater at about 1:19. Where we do have more concerns for more prominent rotation, where it's actually rotating right now, is this cell up toward the north in McDowell County, Rutherford County. Watching that very closely here, especially right there along I-40. Looking at the possibility for some rotation in these areas as this big rush is coming through right in here. And you got this wind that's coming off the mountains. Now, this is an area that's got some interesting terrain. You got very high mountains, and then you've got some lower elevations in southern McDowell County, especially going into Rutherford County. Higher elevations in the northern part, southern parts of the county, and some lower elevations. So this can kind of wreak havoc on some of this rotation, but nonetheless, enough rotation present in the atmosphere to prompt this tornado warning, which goes until 1 a.m. for these counties in Rutherford County and McDowell County there. So watching it closely for northeastern Rutherford County. They kind of honed in on this warning right here. Old Fort down 221 right in here near White House. Again, got some mountains in here, some higher elevations of some mountains. Vane Mountain, Faro, Thermal City, Union Mills, right up 221 right here. So, folks, get on the horn right now and give your friends a call and let them know something's going down in this area. They're likely hearing their phones go off in this area, but that's where the primary concern is. But again, our strong straight line winds, something that we're watching very closely. Our eyes are peeled on it as we're watching that through these areas of western North Carolina and the upstate of South Carolina through North Georgia. There's a couple of lightning strikes out of this activity, but fresh reboot here just to show you what's happening. Our live Super Doppler 4 in the alert mode right now, which is giving us that instant look at where storms are located. So you're watching in northern Greenville County, northern Spartanburg County. You got some heavy rain. You got some lightning in place right now, stretching back through Pickens and Oconee County. That's where some of this activity in North Carolina is going to come out of. And again, I would expect our next severe thunderstorm warning for straight line winds to be coming very soon for Pickens, Oconee, and Greenville County, because it's now crossing out of North Carolina into South Carolina, and we're starting to hear that thunder at the station. You're starting to get some of those lightning strikes to be more frequent across South Carolina. Walhalla, surrounding areas, we can do a storm track on this for you. You got this activity coming out of Rabun County. It's heading towards you folks in Seneca, Lake Jocassee, Lake Kiowee, surrounding areas, heading into Pickens County. So a new track on this. Griffin places it in Tougaloo at about 1241, Walhalla at 103, Clemson 123, and then Travelers Rest at about 132. So what we're telling you, northern part of the upstate between now and about 1:30, 2 o'clock, south of 85, probably getting to your neck of the woods between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. So one of those situations where it's moving through like this, kind of east-southeast, and while it's doing so, has the capability of producing some very strong winds. So watching this closely across the upstate in through western North Carolina with the one tornado warning across the area. And frankly, it's that leading edge that would give us the more vulnerable conditions for rotation. And the atmosphere has recovered. We're quite warm, we're quite muggy and unstable. And Griffin, that's kind of all you need to get these storms to kind of fire up to a level that could give us that rotation and make it a little bit more vulnerable in those areas.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think the southernmost storms are definitely going to be the ones to watch, like that cell that's right there in Rabun County. I mean, it is rocking and rolling, and it's about to be over towards Seneca and Walhalla. We've got some good news to pass along. It looks like that tornado warning that was in effect for McDowell County as well as Rutherford County, that has now been canceled. It looks like, there's not as much evidence as there was that we had some embedded rotation in there. You certainly still have some straight line winds, and those are headed into Chimney Rock and Lake Lure and Edneyville right now. So still something that's worth watching, but it does look like for the most part it's turning into a straight line wind threat. Still storms that you need to take seriously, but it looks like the tornado threat from that particular storm appears to be winding down, Chris.
And we're going to be watching that closely here, because at any given time now through the overnight hours, our commitment to you is to keep you posted on the hours. So if you're kind of just wanting to check back in with us, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. until WYFF News 4 Today comes on later on, we're going to be having you covered around the clock, whether we're on here or not. Our eyes are peeled on live Super Doppler 4. So when a warning is prompted, a tornado warning especially, we will go on TV continuous and let you know till the threat's over. Right now that tornado threat has ended, so we are going to send you back to regular scheduled programming here in just a second. But I want to let you know, the second something turns a little bit more dire, we will dial back in here, let you know what's going on air. In particular, some of this activity moving through North Georgia. We're watching it as it's moving through. But for now, we're talking about thunder and lightning. I know some of you are saying, hey, it's thundering like crazy out. Don't go yet. I'm telling you right now, it's strong winds, it's heavy rain, but there are no active warnings across the upstate. And the one tornado warning we did have in Rutherford, McDowell County, Buncombe County has expired. So the tornado threat there is over with temporarily. Doesn't mean we're not going to get another one. We will keep you posted. And the second something turns more dire or severe, we'll cut back into programming. We'll send you back and see you again at 1 a.m.